guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a video all about matcha. Specifically, we're going to be comparing expensive matcha and matcha that's on the cheaper side. I'm doing this because when I was first starting to make matcha lattes at home, I was getting so many mixed messages when I was doing my research. Some people were saying, you need to use this expensive ceremonial grade matcha, and other people were saying, it doesn't really matter, you can use the cheap matcha since it's going to be covered up by the flavor of the milk you're using or the sweetener you're using anyway. So I was getting all these mixed messages, and over the past 6 months that I've been making my own matcha at home, I've tried a lot of different ones, and I think I've gotten a pretty good grasp on what I like, but I've never tried them back to back and been able to really compare this expensive matcha latte versus a cheaper matcha latte. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I have 3 different matchas. On the more expensive end, I have the Iporo matcha, specifically the Sayaka matcha. That one was $60 including shipping for 40 grams. So that kind of adds up when you do the math to cost $150 a gram. For the mid-range matcha, I have the Nakamura Tokichi matcha. That's the starter matcha. It was $64 with shipping, but that comes with 100 grams, so a lot more. And that adds up to be 64 cents a gram. My cheapest matcha is from Itoen. I just got it at my local Japanese grocery store. I think it was like $12. I don't remember the exact price, but I want to say it was less than $15 for sure. That one came with 56 grams, which adds up to be only 21 cents a gram. So definitely the most affordable option out of all of them. I'm going to be making them back to back and then tasting them at the end and seeing if the matcha quality really shines through in the latte with the expensive Iporo matcha, or if the Itoen matcha just does the job and tastes just as good. So we'll see how it goes. Let's get into it. Alright, so starting off with the expensive Iporo matcha, I always use 4 scoops of my matcha powder using this wooden bamboo spoon. Now putting in a 1/4 cup of water. I always measure the temperature before and make sure that it's around 175 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we're just gonna whisk, 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 making M and W motions. My choice sweetener is always agave, and I put about a 1/2 tablespoon straight into the matcha. I prefer oat milk, but you can really use any milk that you prefer. I use a 1/2 cup. Now just combining everything together, I'm gonna wait to add the ice cubes until the end. Now I'm just going to repeat the same exact recipe with the other 2 matcha powders. I'll also put the recipe that I follow in the description of the video. So we have all of the 3 matchas made now, all using the same recipe so it can be consistent and we can compare them fairly. So we have the Iporo, the Nakamura Tokichi, and the Itoen right here. They all kind of have the same vibrant green color, which is a good sign. And I haven't added the ice yet since I was making 3 lattes. I didn't want them to get watered down. I think I'm gonna do like 4 pieces of ice per latte. I'm gonna start off with the most expensive one. So this is the Iporo one. Yeah, let's taste it. That's really good. I think disclaimer, I have tried all of these before, but never back to back. But yeah, it has a pretty strong matcha flavor that shines through even with the oat milk and the agave syrup. I'd say this one is a little bit more umami heavy compared to other matchas I've tried, and I think that's like what people think is good and the quality that people pay for is having that kind of depth of flavor, I guess, with matcha. Yeah, really good. Next one, let's try the Nakamura Tokichi. Interesting. So even though I use the same recipe for all three of these, this one actually tastes a little bit less sweet than this one, which might be because this matcha flavor is a little stronger and the bitterness kind of cuts through the sweetener a little more. This one has a little bit less of the umami flavor too, just kind of has more of that like grassy kind of matcha flavor. Some people don't like that grassy flavor, but I actually do like that. Yeah, really good too. I think so far, if I were to rank them out of 10, I'd give this one an 8, just because it's really good, but also really expensive for this little tin of matcha. And then this one I'd probably give like a 9 or a 9.5, just because it's affordable for this big bag of matcha. And like honestly, like these two are super comparable. They have a similar flavor. If you like a really strong umami flavor that's almost like seaweed maybe, I'd go for this one. But for me, just a classic matcha flavor that kind of shines through even with the sweetener and everything, I'd go for this. And it's a lot cheaper too. Okay, last one, the Itoen, the most affordable and most accessible. This is the only one that I didn't have to ship straight from Japan, so definitely a lot easier. Honestly, for the price, it's good. You can't beat like a $12 matcha for this whole bag. It's way cheaper than these two and way easier to get. If you have a Japanese grocery store in your area, I'm sure you could pick this up instead of having to wait weeks and pay for shipping. And it's honestly really comparable to these two. But I will say, you get what you pay for. This one, I can tell, even though I whisked it just as long as these other two, it's still a little bit chalky, and with the flavor, it's not a very strong matcha flavor. It kind of tastes more just like, I guess, green tea mixed with a little bit of milk and sweetener. Yeah, the matcha flavor is not very strong, and it doesn't really just have that quality flavor that you get with these two. So I'd give this, let's see, 6.5 out of 10. I think it's really good for the price, and if you know, you don't really care about the high quality flavor, you're not like nitpicky like me, then I definitely go for this. I think for the average person, this is gonna be the most accessible, the most affordable, and just gonna do the job. Okay, so now that I've tried all the matchas, I'm gonna stick with my original opinion, which is that the Nakamura Tokichi one is my choice. I'd say it's decently priced. You get a pretty big bag, and for me, it tastes the best. Like I said, a strong matcha flavor does the job every time. But I mean, overall, what I've learned from trying them all back to back is that these could be interchanged, and I could like one over the other, you know, depending on the day and depending on how much money I got in my pocket, because, you know, this $12 matcha is pretty tempting and, you know, gonna be my choice if I'm just in a pinch and I don't want to wait a couple weeks for my matcha to ship from Japan. And it's also really good. I don't want to knock this one at all. It's definitely a really great choice for convenience, for sure. And the Iporo one as well. This is great quality. You can really taste the difference in the matcha. The umami like overpowers the matcha so much, and I really enjoy it. I use this one a little less frequently since it's a little more expensive, so I just kind of save it for when I'm feeling fancy. But overall, I think you get what you pay for, and you get out of it what you want, you know? It's really based on your opinion and how much you're willing to spend, how long you're willing to wait for a matcha. So I hope you learned something from this video if you're just getting into making your own matcha. I think you could definitely tell that, you know, it's gonna be based on what you like the most. So I hope that you enjoyed and you get to try one of these products at some point, because they're all amazing. And yeah, happy whisking!